If there's one thing that remains constant regardless of who's in power, it is America's hypocrisy on the nuclear arms race. It wants the rest of the world to give up on stockpiling nuclear weapons. But does Washington practice what it preaches? The answer is a big fat no. As I speak, America is building a new weapon of mass destruction, one that was sanctioned during the Obama era, found support during Trump's presidency, and is likely to continue under the Biden administration. The price tag of this new weapon might interest some of you. It's worth $100 billion. There's a report on how much money that is and the weapon it will buy.
America is back. America is back.
This was Joe Biden's declaration in his first diplomatic address. But what exactly is America back at doing? Last we checked, the United States of America, the second biggest nuclear power in the world, was back at building a weapon of mass destruction.
My name is Corporal Wakati.
The story begins on the 8th of September 2020. The U.S. Air Force gave defense manufacturer Northrop Grumman a $13.3 billion initial contract to begin engineering this missile. This is just a fraction of the total bill, which will reach $100 billion by 2029. $100 billion. That is 5 times the GDP of Afghanistan, give or take a few. This money could also pay the salaries of 1.24 million elementary school teachers for a year, provide 2.84 million 4-year university scholarships, or cover 3.3 million hospital stays for COVID-19 patients. Now that we've got the price tag in perspective, let's tell you about the weapon. It's called GBSD, a ground-based strategic deterrent. It will be able to travel 6,000 miles, carry a warhead 20 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and kill hundreds of thousands of people in a single shot. The U.S. Air Force is already planning to order 600 of these missiles. For all his promises of halting an arms race, Joe Biden doesn't seem to be walking the talk. America's deep dive into nuclear militarism continues, regardless of which party is in power.
President Vladimir Putin testing a new intercontinental missile and President Donald Trump's medal. From a Moscow command center, Putin watched the hypersonic missile leave its launch tube and, according to the Russians, strike a target 3,700 miles away. That America is vulnerable.
We don't have any defense that could deny the employment of such a weapon against us.
Adding urgency to the Pentagon's own plan to develop an American version.
The hypersonics is a game-changing technology, and that's why it's so important for us to embrace it.
And how far are we from actually fielding that technology ourselves?
So I think we'll put a hypersonic system in the field before 2023.
Russia first touted their hypersonic missile in March with an animation showing warheads flying towards Florida.
Both offensively and defensively, the United States military is working very hard on hypersonics. We are in an arms race.
But for Putin, his new missile is a perfect New Year's gift
all the
for the
praises and
country.
the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rechaha Quadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Also a sincere shalom to you other brethren, you followers of the truth. Shalom to the elect. Anyway, I was just thinking about this topic, so I went into the internet and I said, I said it in the last video, the hypocrisy, which we in the truth know that this place was built on bloodshed and hypocrisy from the beginning. But I said, well, let me go a little further. And as I looked into the wars, as I said before, the war in Afghanistan with Saddam Hussein, the war in Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. And it seems that this place can produce amass large amounts of nuclear weapons, even drop weapons of mass destruction on countries, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and I believe another city, and then say at the end of the war, it saved lives by dropping such a huge weapon on the people. It never stuck right with me when they told me that in school when I was young. It saved lives, knowing that this weapon of mass destruction had an effect on people 50 years later with radiation poisoning. I don't know. This is, I guess they can do that, right? Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. You know, they tell us you must have a permit to carry a gun. You can't even basically defend yourself in your own home unless there's certain circumstances. But these people can have what you call an arms race, build missiles that destroys hundreds of thousands, the capability of destroying millions of people. Now, where I'm confused at, which I'm not confused, but the logic of this man and his system, he says Putin has a weapon that is capable, right, of reaching a certain target with nuclear capabilities with warheads. And then America says, well, we need to catch up to build a bomb just as capable. Meanwhile, they got how many hundreds of thousands of missiles and silos underground. So how much more, this sounds like some street gang violence, man. Guys got 9mm, now guys need AKs. But now everybody has weapons enough to kill one another. But these people, I know Jake will, but these people have to have the most destructive. So then they go into Iraq, and I believe it was 2002, 2000. You had the war on terror. 9/11 happened, which that was already. We already know. If you don't know, go look that up. That was a reason to put a strain on other countries. I can't say very much. Whenever America, Babylon, needs or wants to get at someone for something, they will create a situation and order out of chaos. But they will create a situation and have you in debt to them. Now, and I remember the chemical attack, I think in Syria, right? And they was complaining about this the weapons of mass destruction, chemical weaponry, but it was American based. I'm not lying. You can't make this stuff up. Then right here in Fort Detrick, Maryland, the military has all kinds of weaponry and experiments in chemical plants. After all, the food we eat is pretty much chemicals. But anyway, let me read a scripture. I got to read a scripture before I go on. Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Right? Everything this place was built on. Now, when you go into the wars even, going back to the Revolutionary War, which me and the brother had a talk on that, how Jake over in England was setting stuff up like that. But when you go back into the Revolutionary War, these people conquered the native tribe, and they became, here's one here, the Choctaw. The Choctaw are Native American people originally based in southeastern woodlands in what is now Alabama and Mississippi. Their Choctaw language is a Western Muskegon language. Today, Choctaw people are enrolled in 3 federally recognized tribes of NATO, Choctaw Nation, Salakia. So, they conquered the Choctaw Native Americans. They was at war with the Cherokee Indians in 1776, conquered them, had the Choctaw Indians fighting other Indians, right? Just like we are siding with the military, our people in the military. This is the same thing with like Cornelius in the Roman army. They say the Italian band. So this has happened, right? So the Chickasaw became the ally. And then the Hypocrisy War, co-belligerent Great Britain, right? I'm just showing the allies. Then they just started getting a whole bunch of allies, and then they had the Choctaw Nation and the Cherokee Indians and the Creek allies. So as America was conquering and taking and conquering, they put everybody up behind them, and that's how you roll, though, right? That's just conquering, right? But see, here's the hypocrisy. After they have conquered, the Sioux Indians even became their allies. So we can see when people try to go in history and say, see, it was the Indians fighting the Indians and Jake fighting Nate. Of course there was, because it was a power struggle. But you had Israelites who sided with their conquerors, right? You can see how easy that goes. Just like at once upon a time they sided with us when we came in power. It's just how power works. But anyway, let's go back here. Iraq actively researched and later employed weapons of mass destruction. This is what they said. A weapon of mass destruction is a nuclear, radiological, chemical, biological, and any other weapon. So what they did is they made Iraq the boogeyman, and then when they became the boogeyman and everybody was scared of them, and this when you see the war on terror. Everybody's locked in with the media, but nobody knows what's going on, right? And they're going to do the same thing with us Israelites. You're going to see these episodes set up, staged events, and then they're going to come and say, see, it's the black Hebrew Israelites. Now we must war with them. They're a threat to American soil. It wasn't the first time they did it. It ain't going to be the last time they did it. This is what they do, right? You're a threat to American soil. You might see that it may not seem like a threat, but hell, they did this to Muslims, so to speak, right? I mean, they had power. It was about power, It says United Nations Security Council, the fifth president of Iraq, Saddam Hussein, was internationally condemned for his use of chemical weapons. Now, again, what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of those bases over there, those station-based chemical plants, is owned by America. You don't believe me? You can look this stuff up. I'm even looking at an article right here that said America helped. The CIA files prove America helped the Saddam as he gassed Iran. I mean, it's hard to believe anything now that the media tells you, because they go back and forth. They put so many rumors out there that you get lost. But if the Spirit is with you, you can see it. Anyway, go back to Nahum 3:1. The noise of the whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and the jumping chariots, the horsemen lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of the slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, right? That selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts, right? And this is exactly what they do. You can go to this in Revelation 18, and this is exactly what they do. They set the stage, put you in a predicament, and then force their policies on you. Now you got the Arabic, so-called Arabic woman, Middle Eastern women wearing head coverings but tight jeans, or driving and having the best jobs and just flipping everything, you know. This is what it is. So in other words, even in the war in Afghanistan, which has been going on since 2001 or 2002, supposedly just ended, but this is what I found. Even after 2000, when I first looked on here like a week ago, it didn't have this latest altercation. It's called the American invention in Yemen in 2002, and in 2003 to 2011, the Iraq War, American invention war of Northwest Pakistan, Somali Civil War. Oh man, this is crazy. This is how they obtain their money. American invention in Libya. This is crazy. You can Wikipedia this stuff and just type in the wars, the U.S. wars, and you will find you had major wars, but then you had wars. You know, this is kind of like the Roman Empire. When you go through the history of the Caesars' rise and fall, the powers coming and going, this war, that war, you know. So, I mean, nothing new under the sun, but this revised Roman Empire, boy, they on next level stuff. Anyway, let's go to witchcrafts, okay, which means sorcery, to use power gained from the assistance or control of evil spirits, right, which bring me to this scripture, Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, right, and against rulers of darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. I'm going to go back to here. Let's look up this word, principalities. Principalities. Okay, let's see what it says here. It says the state or office or authority of a prince, the position or responsibility of a principal, the territory or jurisdiction of a prince. And a principal is the most important or influential, right? So it says here, but against princes, right, of authority and powers. And that's what all is breaking down when it says against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, and this is the witchcraft. And I'm going to close up. The witchcraft comes in where they tell you, as a regular civilian, you need to be protected on American soil. But you can't build weapons. You can't have certain kind of chemicals. They lock Jake up for shooting each other and blowing each other away, right? Or they lock him up for drugs, right? And then they lock they lock Jake up for drugs. Okay, they lock you up for domestic violence. You know, they lock Jake up for that. Jake is killing one another. Okay, you got all kinds of madness and drug dealing and all kinds of gun violence and sicknesses going on all across the country. But these guys ain't worried about spending money to help the impoverished communities or so-called blacks and Native Americans. Their job is to build more missiles, more weapons, because they are a threat to one another. Let me get one more scripture real quick that just came to mind. I think this is it. 1 Corinthians 3:19. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with Yahweh, for it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. So this is why they're going to be done away with. This is why Babylon is going to be destroyed, and the rulers of darkness is going to be taken and be brought to their place and get judged. You telling everybody else not to be violent, to obey, turn on the television, the TV sources, sorcery, programming, all these things. And this thing that's going over Ukraine, you got people saying, well, wait a minute. Putin is a murderer. And you got people dying here every day from drugs manufactured, the FDA approved, right? You got people getting killed on a large level. You have this country who goes into other countries and drop what you call the mother of all bombs. And nobody else can have weapons of mass destruction but America and certain other countries. If they could dethrone Russia, they probably would try. But they don't want another superpower. I mean, it's all elite orchestrated if you really want to get deep into it. Those elites flipping and pulling strings, but really the Most High is going to take the wise in their own craftiness, man. That's why Babylon will be destroyed, you know. We prophesied it, and we believe that's what's going to happen. This is Babylon. And everything is proven and pointed to this is Babylon, the great. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.